This is the Aesthetic Experience with a Word. My name is Jacinta, your host. And here in the studio, I have the first cohort of RINT mentors. Okay, I'll let them introduce themselves. Yes?
My name is Simeon Nakuch. I'm a creative director and overall storyteller.
Hi, my name is Faith Achen Lucilla. I love people, I love God, and I love dealing with the young generation and how just to bring them to a place of healing and wholeness. Yes.
My name is Achenjoy Chanel. I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited to become a mentor. I love sharing knowledge. I love inspiring people.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Today we're going to break down the problem-solving process into key steps, and then we'll go ahead to step 3, step 4, step 5, which we're going to be taking you through this session. You're very welcome. Get your pens, get your papers, because this is where we're going to show you that we're going to take you through this guide step by step of how you can structure your unique approach into a teachable and scalable model. Let's say a prayer.
Thank you for this program. We thank you for your goodness and your kindness. Thank you for bringing us here today. So we just allow you to take over and lead us as we break down all these steps, the remaining 4 steps. Lord, we pray that our listeners would actually get a lot and be excited about what we have for them. In the name of Jesus, we have prayed.
Amen. Thank you. So breaking down the process into key steps. Simeon, I guess you look like you're well prepared.
It's a very interesting topic because we need to make sure that we are still targeting those key areas that need to be solved, but also making them manageable to actually achieve. You don't want to put points down that are so out of your reach. We need to make them scalable, smart, basically setting smart goals. You're making sure they're relevant, scalable, and time sensitive and time bound. So the first step in identifying the solution, first you identify what the problem is. Understand why the problem is important to you, why the problem is a problem. What kind of problem? Is it a problem with interpersonal relations? Is it a problem? Is it a system problem? Is it a structure problem? Is it a problem that needs a physical implementation, or is it a problem that needs a lot of mental and structural, implementation? And then the next thing under that would be to set clear objectives. Once you know what the problem is, you need to set objectives to targeting the problem itself, because overall the problem, even as it can seem like a big overwhelming problem, but when you break it down to objectives, okay, now like personally, a problem that I found was structure with creatives, and the objectives then with the solution would be, how do we implement structure? How do we get people, because that's now an interpersonal problem. It's a problem with people who have to put in the work and have to do the work. What is the objective? Getting those mindsets to change is the objective. Getting those people to understand where the issue is, getting people to understand what a structure looks like. That's what the objectives are. So you need to set those objectives. And then next, research and gather information. When you're now that you have the objectives, now that you know exactly what the goal is to solve this problem, the next thing you need to do is understand where the problem came from, whether it's a problem that is reoccurring, in the system, in the industry, whether it's something that can actually be fixed, because some things are beyond your reach. Like in the event that you are trying to fix something like climate change, you have to really, really focus on doing the research into what has already been done before you to fix the area that you're working on, and how you can actually fit into that. But if it's a problem that you are the first person who is bringing a solution for it, then your approach is different. Your research is more about what's similar, problems have been solved, what adjacent solutions have been brought by people before you, and how can yours be different, how can yours be unique, how can yours actually break ground where you are. And for me, this is the journey, the roadmap to solution bringing or to solving that big problem. Another thing that then I'll go into is, after you've done the research, you evaluate and explore potential solutions. Because sometimes there's not only one solution. Sometimes there are many different avenues you can take. And the best thing for you to do, now that you've done your research and you've seen, okay, there are solutions that have been done before, there are solutions that I can do, now explore them, go deeper into them, understand what does it take. Now for me as a creative, bringing in structure, what I went in to look into is what is the creative, in my research it was what does the creative industry entail. What having been privileged to work in it for 10 years, I understand how people have been working so far, how people have been bringing ideas to life, how people have been hiring, how people have been just generally the work ethic. Now understanding that has also helped me to know what possible solutions are there within that scope, because I could say that a possible solution is funding, right?
Okay.
That's a big thing, but I have to break that down. What does that funding look like? It's not just an injection of money, right? I'm not going to say I'm looking for $1 million. Bring the $1 million. What am I going to do with it? Understanding what that funding looks like. Sometimes even a solution could be funding, but for that doesn't come directly monetarily. It can come through help, through talking to other leaders in the industry, and so that's how it looks like for me as a creative trying to seek structure. But you have to understand what that looks like for you and really go into depth with exploring those potential solutions, understanding what the solutions bring, and then knowing how to get back to the objectives, right? Aligning them with the objectives.
Yes.
And then when you evaluate from the options of solutions that you have, now it's time to choose which solution best serves the objectives.
Okay.
And you're not just after convenience, but effectiveness. You're looking at what will be the most effective, what will have the most impact in solving the problem that you originally had. So because you've broken it down, you're actually able to see, the light at the end of the tunnel. Because now now we know exactly what is the best solution to take. And Matthew 7:24 says, everyone who hears the words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who has built his house on a rock. When we choose the best path on a solid understanding of those objectives, that's what we're doing. We are building our house because now we have had a foundation. We're building our house on that rock, and it will stand. Because at the end of the day, your solution needs to be able to stand beyond you. Right? You need to create a solution that's not temporary, that's not short term. It's a solution that is generational. You're able to actually live in
a generational solution, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And then the last two steps would be you come to a point where you have to implement the solution you found. Now these are all steps, but the step of implementation, you need a plan for that implementation. A plan that is written down. Because you can't just say we're going into the solution, we're going to just start. You need a plan, because without a plan for that for the implementation of that solution, then you're going to go in and you're going to end up encountering a different problem, and you're going to now divert. Sometimes you get lost. You go in and you start diverting resources where they shouldn't be diverted.
So what you're trying to say is documenting this solution step by step is extremely crucial. Just like I was talking about, when you identify the patterns, you need to be able to document them at every point in time. That is the only way you can tell that the same patterns that I experienced the last time are now coming up again and again. This must be leading to a very specific problem, and that is how you identify the problem from the patterns, and then you get to what is that ability that enabled me
Yes.
to solve the problems that I was experiencing. So what you're trying to talk about, what you're saying is the problem-solving process broken down into these key steps have to be documented.
Have to be documented.
And that's the only way, because that's. But then, in all this, sorry for interjecting, but
No, it's okay.
in all this, are there some? Are there, you might document, but would you leave room for modification?
Definitely, because what I've stated, like the different steps, what I've really stated is the problem-solving process in
Yes.
these 5-6 steps.
Yes.
And they have titles. You identify the problem, set clear objectives, research and gather information. Those sort of things are always growing and always evolving, because you might get at some point where you're evaluating the answer, trying to select the best solution. Let me give an example. If your problem has to do with the economy, right? And the economy, the state of the economy plays a very big role in the solution you're trying to bring to the problem.
Yeah.
If stocks drop drastically, if we go into a depression economically, you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to find a way for you, because that's going to definitely affect the solution you're trying to bring to this particular problem.
Yeah.
So for you to be able to pivot, you have to have a point of pivot.
Yes.
And you can't have a point if you've not documented what the problem is, what the objectives are. Then you can say, okay, these objectives rather need to change. They need to just be adjusted slightly, or they need to change altogether. There are so many things out of your control, but one thing that is in your control is your ability to take steps.
Yes.
But there's so many things that happen in the world, in business, in whichever area you're in. There's so many things that will change, and you have to. It's a guarantee that they will change. But what shouldn't change is your ability to take steps, and these are steps that you can take, and those steps can look different.
Yeah.
Some steps are high, some steps are low, some steps it's like walking,
Yeah.
Some steps you're walking on a terrain that is you're not sure about.
Yeah.
But when you know that step, then you know how to move forward. So after implementing the solution, the last thing, if I'm breaking the process down to steps, the last thing I would say, review, refine, and iterate. So you look at how the solution is approaching the problem.
Okay.
You see if it's actually being solved, because this just shows you that the problem-solving process is continuous.
Yes.
You're not solved the problem and you walk away from it and be like, okay, but for your problem to be able, for your solution rather, to last beyond you, it needs to be able to solve the problem continuously.
Yes.
And for that to happen, there has to be a lot of review and regular assessment of the solution's effectiveness.
Yeah.
Checking whether it's actually working, checking whether it's meeting the objectives. Now, for me, if my solution is to bring structure to creatives, and I've gone through all the different steps and finding a solution, and now I've implemented the solution, given the solution, I need to keep checking in, with the creatives that I'm working with. How is this helping you? Are you actually making money? To be more specific, my goal is to make sure that creatives can document their work, put it in a portfolio, make sure that they're able to pitch themselves to people and have a regular flow of work. Creatives in music and art, whatever it is, you can use the same structure and system to make sure that you're generating income, to make sure you are pushing workflow and you're gaining experience continuously, so that you don't reach a point where you're 35 and someone is still telling you, come and do this for exposure. Because you know how much exposure you've gained, and you will know whether that exposure is even valuable to you. Not all exposure is valuable exposure. And that's something that I am trying to implement. And for me, for that to work, we need to keep reviewing, because now with the creative industry, it's changing so much. With internet and AI, it's changing so much. You're finding AI can now write scripts, and AI can now create art. And because of that, there's nothing we can do. It's something we can't fight. But how do you make sure that you're still living?
Actually, I was going to ask you that. How do you stay relevant with AI now?
Having a system, making sure, because now if you have your portfolio and you know the work you can do, how do you add AI to that? How do you use AI to your benefit? Now you can say, oh, there are AI apps that I can use. I can learn it so well that I will be an asset where I go, where I'll go and be like, yes, you might have AI, but I know how to utilize AI to make sure that and you can only do that when you have a system in place that shows you, okay, this is where I'm lacking. I have my portfolio here, I have my catalog here, and this is what they need. Where can I apply AI? You can't know that you don't just sit at home and be like, I can say, Mama, where can I apply AI? It's easier when you have a documented system in place and you're able to look at yourself objectively, look at the skills you've earned, look at the work you've done, understand where your gaps are. When I say gaps, it's you may be someone who has acted as an actor, you've acted in series, but you've not done film. That's a gap. Then that helps you set objectives. You're like, okay, my next thing is if it's exposure, let it be exposure in film. Yes, I may not be getting paid much, but now I want to rack up that, add it to my portfolio so that I can actually beef it up. Then you know that the next time someone calls you for a series, you don't need exposure in series because you've learned, you've been there, you've done. You've set for yourself a goal and you said maybe I need to do a whole season or a whole series of many seasons, and you've met that goal. Past that point, then you put a cap and say, now I require this amount of money. That's the structure I'm talking about, and that needs to be reviewed in these steps. You need to review, check it, assess, is it actually working for me? And even me as a mentor, I'll need to review the whole thing. So as a mentor, you need to still keep checking in. Is what I gave you working? Is there a way we can improve it? Is there a way we can make sure we're applying what is current?
Okay. Yeah. So what tools do you actually use to gauge if your structure is still relevant, especially when you are mentoring people?
Yeah.
When you're mentoring mentees. What tools are you intending to use?
Okay.
Or have you currently applied?
Because it's a very interpersonal situation, you have to use regular system check-ins to see, okay, how much have you achieved? Those regular conversations, definitely, but also regular documenting, requiring them to have a shared space, a shared skill space where they can put in the work that they've done and you can actually see progress. So there are a lot of applications and systems that could be used for that and can be used for that, where all you need is an email, sign in, and you put in all the work you've done. And as a mentor, I can keep checking in and saying, okay, this work that you've done. Then it helps me also know when to check in, because you've put in work and I'll be like, okay, this work that you've done, did you document it? Did you get this and this in place? Did you get a contract in place? Is this what a contract looks like? Did you review it? Did you go through all the steps that we've given you? If you didn't, what step did work? That kind of review. So it's like sort of a step-by-step review, but also having those regular check-ins is another, I guess, tool you can say. Yes.
So how would you balance if you have like 10 mentees?
Oh, the regular check-ins are for a group.
Oh, the regular
check-ins. Group check-ins, because then the idea of us growing together works. Because then what someone else is going through right now could be what someone else is going through next week. And it's better for them.
So it could be an answer for somebody else.
Exactly.
Okay.
And as my goal is to make sure that I leave a community of creatives that support each other and understand how to structure themselves, not just structure themselves for themselves, but for the industry.
Okay.
So now you're building a structure that, yes, relies heavily on your hard work, but also relies on the hard work of a community.
Thank you very much, Simeon. Faith and Joy seem to be very quiet here. Let me throw the roadmap to them. Joy, have you developed a written or visual map that shows the flow of your work from start to finish?
I would say it's still in progress, but what I will say is I feel like this roadmap is something that won't be created once, but something continuous. Because when I think of a visual or written roadmap, I'm thinking of me noting down maybe what I plan to do, the different steps that I plan to do, and as I grow, this will change. So I'll keep noting down different changes. But then I also love to write a lot. So I tend to, whenever I get ideas, I tend to note down things. And I'll say for me, this process has been about discovering purpose. And I've also gotten to discover a lot of things, and I feel like they're interconnected. So this roadmap is really very important for me so that I can know where to start from. What next? Okay, from this step, which step should I go to? And it has also been very beneficial because when I was doing this roadmap, I discovered if I am to teach, if I am to inspire people, then I need to increase on my reading, should I say reading habit? Yes, because you need to be very knowledgeable.
Yes.
And I actually started reading some books, and I've picked a lot from it. I would give an example of I read a quote from a book. Our quote, it talks about how successful people are people who let me paraphrase, they're people who concentrate on a specific thing at a time, do it well, and then go to the next. So a roadmap helps you with that. Because when you have a roadmap, you know, okay, I'm at point A. So I'm concentrating on point A.
Yes.
At point A, what do I have? What am I doing at this point? Okay, should I say I have finished point A? Where should I go from here? Should I go here? Should I go this? Which thing should I do next?
Can you give us a practical example?
Let's say, for example, because I have many things that I'm passionate about.
Yes.
Let's say, talk about business here. So if I'm planning to maybe mentor someone in the business line, and someone comes to me and they have an idea for business, the first thing I'll ask them to create a roadmap. That roadmap, I'll ask that person, okay, what kind of business do you want to start? And then maybe they'll tell me, because people tend to have different passions. They'll say, oh, I'm leaning towards maybe clothes, I'm leaning towards maybe baking or cooking, a restaurant, or I'm leaning towards perfume, or I'm leaning towards. So ask them, of these, which is most important? Which do you feel you have gained bigger ground? So they'll put it on their roadmap. Maybe let's go with perfume. Then I will ask them, okay, what plan do you have next? Maybe let's say it's funding. So the next thing on the roadmap is acquiring funds. How are they getting those funds? Then next maybe will be a space. Is it online? Is it physical? So they need to tackle that. If they have finished that, then let's say capital. Is it human? Like, are you going to employ people? Are you going to be working alone? Next roadmap, yes. And then implementation on the roadmap. They'll put implementation. Then when they implement, you see how the roadmap keeps growing, because after implementing, you get to see, okay, it worked here, it didn't work here. You add it on the roadmap. Then on the roadmap, you can say, oh, this is not working. Let me change it. You change it. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on the roadmap.
Okay. Any thoughts, Faith, on your roadmap from start to finish? Is it visual? Is it written? Is it something that you have worked on?
It's, I think, something I'm in the process of working on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not completely finished it because it's a process. What I can say, it's visual.
Yes.
Yeah. Because remember, I'm dealing with people. I'm trying to mentor people who, let's say, counselors or people who have the heart for other people.
Yes.
To bring them to a place of wholeness and health. Because we live in a world where there is a lot of mental health issues. People are depressed, people are sick in the workplaces, in homes, people are dealing with issues. And for me, the visual I have in my head is kind of, okay, I need to get from start to finish. But the process is you listen to someone, that's what you want me to
Maybe it could be a roadmap to, let's say, since you're helping someone, maybe their growth, let's say they have a particular problem, can't they draw a roadmap of how the steps they're taking? Maybe, let's say you give them advice, have they followed that advice? Has that advice helped them? The beauty about something that's visual is, I don't know why, but they always tell people, when you have an idea or you have put it on paper. So I feel like even when someone is, let's say it's addiction coming out of something, and you write your goal. Okay, my goal is to maybe do this or that, and you keep seeing it. I feel like it impacts the more you see something. So if you're counseling people, and let's say you've told them, oh, do this exercise, maybe write an exercise of how you have been this week. Let's say your mentor stepped this week. Put it on your roadmap, and then we are like drawing a roadmap maybe to recovery, so that in case you feel a relapse, so you can look at that and
come back to the roadmap.
Is it them writing the roadmap, or it's my roadmap?
Create for them a roadmap that has a specific, because remember, we're still in the steps of solutions. And so I think when you think about, are you bringing a solution to addiction? Are you bringing a solution to depression? So for you, it would look like a roadmap that is an outline for specific steps. So in the beginning of that roadmap, you would say the first thing in the roadmap is identification. Identify what their problem is. The next thing is maybe, I don't know how counseling works, but understand. Maybe the next thing would be discuss. Maybe the next thing will be so in counseling, so it would be like that.
Could even
as sort of a shell, or it would be like steps where you can keep. Now, if it's addiction, if it's under the step of understanding.
So how these mentees have actually, it's a roadmap of how they are being able to
find their solution.
And if it's working for them.
So that in case you get a similar case, you can recreate the steps.
Apply them.
And if they want to help someone else, they could follow those steps.
Because ideally,
that is if the impact is actually there.
Yes, if there's impact.
That they've been helped with this particular.
And then you're also able to gauge. I feel like it also helps you gauge if the things that have worked and the things because you'll be like, okay, we tried this didn't work, we modified it like this, and it worked. So now, next time you're doing it, this method works better.
And the roadmap is, from at least what I understood, a roadmap is solid. It's like 5 to 7 steps or whatever, however many steps that work, but then every step can look different. Now in the step of understanding looks different. Understanding can look like discussion. Understanding could be like listening. Understanding could be
depending on the person.
But then overall, the step is understanding. Then the fundamentals of the roadmap stay the same.
It's almost like a skeleton
that you feel
differently.
Exactly. It's like a hanger or a mannequin. It's a mannequin, and then you can keep putting different
ideas. What should have been there? Because you guys are yourself.
But now when I say I'm going to edit that, I'm going to let that flow. I'm going to find a way of making it.
So basically for me, my roadmap would look like understanding. I'll have to ask or work with the mentees and see if they are actually understanding, let's say, who they are dealing with. What the problem is. Let's say if someone comes to them with a problem with depression, have they understood where that depression has come from? So the first point is to really understand what is the the cause of this depression, because someone can talk and talk and talk, but what is the cause? So the first step is to understand.
Yes.
And then after, because we are, I'm dealing with, we are all Christians, okay, us here, and I noticed that sometimes the way of the world, people keep falling back because they're going to give you processes, but there is no lasting solution.
Yes.
You know, they will give you a process of how to deal with alcoholism and what, but then you find that people are relapsing.
It's like temporary.
Yes. So for me, I'm teaching these people that the best way is only God who can bring lasting healing. Yes. So these mentees have to actually understand that they have to deal with the people they are helping in a way that God wants them, you know, to bring healing God way, not just the world's way, because the world's way will never really work. So from understanding, then you go to, okay, you've now understood the problem, and so what does God say about this particular problem?
Yes.
So when you know what God says about this particular problem, then you can speak to them about it. You know, pray with them about it. You know, then after that, you follow up on them. You know, every day. You know, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? Come back to the first step. So after you finding out how they're doing, you know, because people who have gone through issues, sometimes it's a process. Healing is a process. So these mentees have to have empathy in them, like to actually be able to deal with someone until they come out of that.
Also, you mean the mentors, yourself as a mentor?
Me as a mentor,
empathetic.
I have to be empathetic
towards a mentee.
Towards a mentee. Yes, exactly. So after that, as long I think that is the end of my step. Yes, because to make sure someone has come out of what they're dealing with. Yes, it's very important. So the first step is to understand. Second step is to, after understanding the solution, what does God say about it? Talk to the person. And after talking to the person, pray with them and just make sure that, you know, they have understood what, you know, you've told them, and then go through with them, keep praying with them until they come out with that solution. Yes. Yeah, there are many things in between. Yes.
But that's like a
summary.
What's interesting is I feel like this roadmap, when it comes to, let's say, the counseling thing, it can be like an activity for both you and the person. It's like you can draw it together, get your vision board. If you had an office, get your office and say, okay, for this person, you draw your roadmap, your process as they are progressing, and at the end of it, show them, see how far God has brought you.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's a nice one. So I like that we have broken down the process into the key steps of documenting the solution. These are things that we're not doing in our real day life until we say, now let's build a mentorship apprenticeship model, which actually guides us in how we are supposed to execute every step of the way. And once you've documented the solution, focused on the fundamentals, then it's easy for you to actually get the roadmap. As you can see, we have different mentorship apprenticeship models, but we appreciate building these models together and helping one another. So I'm sure there are people who have a feeling that I don't think I can do this. Yes, I know I'm actually called to solve these kind of problems. These are the challenges that have come my way, and I've actually managed to solve them. But according to what I'm hearing, it seems like it's a bit of a hard thing for me to go out there and teach another person exactly what I do. And it takes initiative for you to say, let me step into these spaces and begin. It doesn't matter. As you can see, Faith here is collecting her information here and there. How is she supposed to execute something that's already in her, something that she's doing that flows naturally when she's actually doing it. But when it comes to structuring it down so that it's very clear and it can be repeatable for somebody else, because this is information, wisdom, knowledge that you just don't want to lose. That's why we're structuring. Yes. So I guess we're going to go to the next step.
Step 3.
Step 3.
Catch us in the next video for step 3.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being very patient with us. And God bless you. Bye-bye.